You are listening to a special episode of Film Creative Voices. This episode brought to you by our location sponsor, Special Order, and also our food sponsor, Tatan and Noho, who serves amazing organic Filipino food. Please check them out on Instagram at Tatan_Noho.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Film Creative Voices. I'm your host for today's episode, Arnold Basingat. And today, like I said, we're going to do something a little special. The interviewers of Film Creative Voices have now become the interviewed. So let's welcome our guests, Arlene and Walter. What's up? How you guys doing?
Hi.
Sorry.
Hey, guys.
Wow. Sounded a little weird there. That was a weird intro.
You have a really soothing voice.
Thank you. That's what I've been told. Actually, I have a broadcast background. I don't know why I'm talking about myself. It's all about you guys today.
Dang, you almost turned it around.
Yeah, seriously. All right, fine. Stop it some more. So, like, season 1, Film Creative Voices, 20 freaking episodes. That's insane. But I think during those 20 episodes, I don't think the audience really got to know who you guys really are.
Yeah, who are you,
right?
Walter?
They didn't. They were
So, like,
our guests were too busy talking and let us talk about ourselves.
What are you? Why are you here? No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, Arlene, tell me a little bit about yourself, like your background.
Gosh,
like, what do you do?
Even
what are you
know
about?
What's
going on in
What you claim.
Yeah. What set you claim?
What production company you claim.
But you don't bang, right?
You guys.
Don't bang.
Let's see where to begin. My story is just such an odd one.
Yeah.
I feel like my whole life is like pretty dramatic in every single way, and it's never dull. There's always something random going on. So, growing up, I wasn't, seeking the entertainment life.
Okay.
It was something I loved to do, and I'd make horror films growing up on like VHS tapes and things like that. But my family was very like heavy sciences, and so I did that route. Right. I was in the Army for almost a decade as an Army nurse, and then a freak accident happened where it was a wedding, and I got burned by this fire pit that got picked up by a rogue wave, and I got airlifted out of Mexico back to the States, and then I was a burn patient. And the irony of that is that I was a burn trauma ICU nurse in the military. So when we first moved to LA, I could only stand for 4 hours a day. And then during like all my rehab, because it took me 6 months to relearn to walk again, it's very humbling. So I had a long talk with my family and just trying to figure out like, what am I going to do? And so I said, you know what, if I'm going to die tomorrow, I want to be able to say I've done everything I ever wanted to. And so I said, all right, it's time to pursue acting, and we're going to be in LA, so let's do it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, what's your boring story?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, when you said like, what was it? How did you say like there was a freak accident?
Yeah.
I just wanted to like kind of stop there and go on a divergent and be like, yeah, it was a freak
Walter
military accident, and I had superpowers.
I started glowing this weird green glow. I don't know.
I can absorb fire.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's
Which
like
kind
my...
No.
What are we talking about?
Sorry.
Like, like in Game of Thrones, like the Hound, I felt for the brother, man. I was
You just did you actually develop that?
She's
Like,
you
I
do have a
fear
paranoia of fire, right?
Yeah, for a long time. And I don't like being surprised by like heat. And I wasn't even allowed to show my legs to the sun. So like, it was really hard.
Allowed to? Okay.
Like, yeah, for 1 year.
Yeah, and she didn't really appreciate when I'd walk up to her with a match and be like,
No, you're just so hot, Walter. Like,
that's why you didn't like to stand next to me, right?
He's like the Human Torch.
I was on fire.
I'm very fearful of that.
So hot. No, that actually that's a crazy story. I'm one of those people that believes that everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Weirdos.
No, it was
and it's
like my
true. It's like
saving
even the bad things that happen to you in your life, like it'll lead to something better, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. It was the best thing that ever happened to me to this day, because it was so life-changing that, I was planning on going to anesthesia school and become CRNA, and so a nurse anesthetist. And it was so much about my career. And then when this happened, I actually protected my son in the process, who was like 2 at the time. Okay. And so the wave came from behind. Okay. And I took one for the team that day, and it hit me. And if I wasn't standing where I was standing, it would have killed him. Yeah. It would have saved her son's life. It would have like killed him. And so, we're really, really fortunate. Right. So, yes, I mean, it helps like in the entertainment sense, because like, one, I can take rejection like a champ, because to me it's like, well, nobody died, so it's not the end of the world. Yeah. And everything that presents itself is an opportunity. Sometimes, God has his plans, and I had to get derailed like that in order to see the bigger picture and kind of focus more on family and things I want to do.
What I love is that you have that hanging over your kids in the future all the way through, to be like, if he ever talks back to you when he's a teenager. Shame. Oh, you'd be alive. Not just that give birth to you, but I saved your life.
Yeah.
So let's transitioning into the entertainment industry. Walter, let's talk about.
Damn,
let's talk about your origin story, and then we'll talk about the entertainment side of things afterwards. So,
all right. Well, my life really started in a testing ground in New Mexico, proving grounds.
I told you.
This gamma explosion. Sorry.
That's why he has no hair, guys.
Yeah. Or should I say some Canadian mountain? Woke up Wolverine. Well, I grew up in San Francisco, in the inner city, and
go Raptors.
Yeah, Golden State. They're gonna catch up, man. Anyways, we're totally dating this piece right now.
I know. Oh, shoot. Okay,
I grew up in San Francisco, immigrated from the Philippines, and just tried to stay out of gangs and all that stuff growing up, and then got into good university as engineering school, which is what my parents wanted me to do, and just didn't like it. And then 9/11 happened, joined the military, was there in the invasion of Iraq, and came back, gave myself like a self-therapy by traveling the world, just to kind of get over like the stuff that we did or saw. Yeah. And actually in tangent, like that traveling as a self-therapy was great. I came back ready to go back into university, studied film, which is when I was in Iraq, in combat zone, kind of same thing with her, in a sense that like, if I'm gonna die or something happens, all right, if I'm able to survive this and come back, I just want to do something that I'm passionate about and that I want to do. And I've always had a passion to create things, like to do film and just to be able to create and make things and tell stories that most people don't know, and especially. Sorry, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but like
getting so deep, guys. Yeah. This is like not normal.
Sorry. Well, because no one's ever asked me.
Where are you again?
Keep going, man.
Yeah. No, because like in Iraq, or being in war, you see so many. It's so easy. I realize it's so easy to destroy things. It's so easy to take things away, to kill or to hurt or to burn or whatever. I wanted to do something where I can create something, where I can help build something.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Instead of, because I've done my share in doing that, and we never know if we might do something like that in the future. But at least in the time being, when I can do the yin and yang thing, right, to create, like, I think the samurai warriors, or just warriors in general, do that, like, as to balance things out. They help create and help things live, because they're so good at destroying things also. Graduated and continued my adventures, whether it was in the military or did the reserves, and but continued to produce, work in commercials, worked in industry, moved down here, and just started creating content, and then met these guys at Film Creative, where we, it was a small group of guys at first, and then I just wanted to make it bigger. So we, with the help of, the board and Meriden, we started making something out of it,
Hi,
making it
Meriden.
grow. Meriden's here supporting.
Hi.
And just making it grow, and then just a place where people can come to an organization where people could have the support system and friends to help them build and create, which is something I did not have when I moved down here, because when I moved from the Bay Area, all my film group like stayed in the Bay Area because like real Bay Areans, a lot of NorCal people are like, I'm not going to SoCal. I'm not going to sell out.
Yeah, there was a time where like we really hated each other for some reason.
Yeah, it was
I don't know
North
why.
versus South, man.
it's
And
California.
and I decided, like, like all the guys I was working with on set in the Bay Area, like the veterans, they were like, yeah, if you really want to cut your teeth, go to LA and just get your experience, and then come back up here if you want. And then I ended up staying here because, I fell in love with it and just fell in love with the
I'm sorry, say that again?
fell in love with LA and the culture and the food, and like I just started making friends and then in Phil I'm Creative, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna help make this grow, and we're gonna build content and create something.
That's dope. Yeah, I just recently got involved in Film Creative. Like I've known about it for like the longest
Because you're
time.
from here, right?
Yeah, I'm from LA, and I have a lot of friends who are in Film Creative.
Yeah.
But I don't know, for some reason, because I've been in and out of the industry, and I'm just like, I would like, I had a really like love-hate relationship with the industry, but I was like getting into it now, I'm just like, damn, I missed out. And like on the path, like it's been 10 years, right? It's like, damn, man. I'm just like wondering where I would be now had I like gotten involved like early on. But anyways, I'm here now.
There was
whatever.
kind of like this wave that had happened.
Right.
And because we were talking about that with somebody else where, what has it been like? And for Film Creative to be around for a decade, congrats to Film Creative and everybody
straight up.
who has been involved throughout the years. Because, I was so fortunate to have just moved to LA, and then Meriden and I met on set, and then there was like a few months in between. So we were actually working, and we were having very similar outfits, and they had to change one of us because we looked like no
Twinsies.
joke, no joke.
No racial either, right?
And so it was kind of funny, how it happened. And then I met Kathleen Neubauer on a different set, and she had just talked about it. And I think that's when you guys had the first meeting at the bar. And then the first meeting I went to was at Murphy's house. And it was so fascinating to me because like I've been a part of like many different organizations and groups throughout the years in different locations. And I saw it already. I was like, there is magic. There's magic happening right now. And then there was this explosion, and I felt so fortunate to have walked in, right at the perfect timing because it seemed like everything really, blew up, and
All the pieces started falling into place.
because as you're sitting here, in this space right now, I was telling everybody as we were sitting, I'm like, I just want to capture this moment in time, and I didn't have my phone. And then Walter's like, "Where's your phone?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm just trying to let me have my moment, okay?" And this is the dream, guys. Like even just starting this podcast. A year and a half ago, like, my God, we like all telepathically put everything together, and like today on set, and it's amazing. It's like, that's the dream.
You're
that's
welcome.
I'm like, you get that, yeah.
Got it. She told me to say that.
Yeah, and I think it's fabulous, what we're doing, and I hope to see more. And I'm sad that I've, just recently transitioned out to Hawaii. And so
I guess.
you guys can always film at my place anytime. But yeah,
You heard that.
Like
We're doing it.
I do think, you like, yes, it's been there, but I don't think you've like missed out because like you did so many other things. I mean, like now, like you got hi-fi going on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Shout out to Hi-Fi Kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm your cook. I'm the one that cooks your food.
So hit the like button.
Exactly. Give us 5 stars on Yelp, please. Jeez. No, actually, I hate Yelp. Anyway, that's another
movement.
conversation for another time. Huh?
But there's a whole movement with like Filipino food.
Yeah,
Everybody.
Yeah.
The culinary arts and
Everybody's helping everyone now.
Yeah.
Which is great. I don't think it was like always like that, even
No,
a few
it's
years
true.
ago.
It's true. I mean, it's a culinary art. It's a creative
right.
thing. It's so and food and the restaurant industry. It's hospitality. It's entertaining. So like, I'm just all about that. Just making people happy, which I know you guys are doing. Making people smile.
No.
I feel like when you're not on set and I don't hear you like busting out in laughter, it is
man.
not the same.
I feel like does that take away?
No.
Let's ask the audience.
It adds.
When you hear my cackle in the background. Yeah, that's me. That's me.
great.
Anyways, enough about me. What are we talking about? Okay, so film creative, and then you said it's been a year and a half of film creative voices, right? How did voices even come about? Like the idea, the concept, or
Voices came about. It was Rodney Kajuto, who's our showrunner. It was his
Producer
concept.
extraordinaire.
Hi, Rodney.
And
He's smiling.
Another Rodcast production.
nice.
No, I got credit Joe for that one.
Yeah. And he approached me when I was the president of Film Creative about this idea. And it's something that's been marinating with him that he's been wanting to do. Mm-hmm. And he told me the idea, and I was like, "That sounds great. What can I do to help make it happen?" Mm-hmm. And I wasn't sure. Like can't remember if he even had me in mind as a host. I think originally he wasn't, and then then he saw how awesome I was and decided to be like, "Yeah, you're gonna be host."
I knew that was coming. Oh man, I was like,
yeah, you know me too well. No, and then so I gave like my support and what we could do as an organization to support the first season, and like just started the building blocks. And because we had me and Meriden and I, like she was like. Either I was a president and Meriden was my vice president, or vice versa, or she was a president and I was vice president. Right. But Meriden and I we worked really well together in a sense that we communicated well, and we had the same vision of just helping the organization and helping the community build and create. And so we did what we could in like raising money. We did all these events, and she was doing all these filmmaker events too that help raise money to support, get things together for Film Creative Voices. Right. And I was fortunate enough also that I connected with the people at Filipino Worker Center, where we started having our regular meetings at the time. And then they were so supportive about the show too that they allowed us to work at their space,
Shout out to PwC.
Shout out to PwC, and they were from the get-go. They were like, "Yeah, we'll support you," and we've been able to luckily do well enough where we can also support them or shout them out or donate to them too, because they're a great organization. Check them out, pwcsc.org. But yeah, and then from there we just Grace Moss was wonderful in helping us find give ideas and talent. Because she's a diversity executive in NBC and wonderful woman. And then Manny Streets was I've known him for a while. Like when I've moved here, I met him a few times, and I've done photo shoots with him. And
shout out Manny. He was one of my influences, like because I went to school for broadcasting.
Yeah,
so just like to see Asian people like back then.
Well, for the longest time, people thought he was Hispanic.
Oh yeah, like him and Theo from 92.3 The Beat.
Yeah,
I was like, he's Japanese. Well, I can do this.
Yeah. Well, PJ Butter,
this is the 90s.
PJ Butter is he's also
half Filipino, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Is he? Yeah,
I think he's half. Yeah, but still, yeah.
But Filipino, yeah. Anyway, so Manny Streets was like awesome enough to like be our first guest, and took the time from his schedule because that dude's doing so much stuff. Like he's
yeah.
And
like,
I mean,
he needs his own. Like, does he have his I don't know if he wants to have his own show, like his own.
Well, he's moved on. Yeah, he's moved to. I think he's
doing film now.
Like doing film more.
Yeah.
Film. Okay. Wow.
I mean, he's doing the Ryan Seacrest thing where because I was his mentor too, and he was doing he's starting to do all these different shows and. So yeah, but he was so supportive, and that's why Manny Streets was our very first guest, and it was a wonderful show.
That was great. Like it was a great start to the show, not just to the season, but just like obviously it was the first season, but it set the tone. It got the ball rolling, and that was a great first.
And we just like the fact that it was a radio icon, and especially in the community, and he starts off our podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So Manny was one of your guests or your first guest, and you've had 20 others or 19 others after that.
Yes.
So within that 1.5 years, what would you say would be like your most memorable moment or favorite moment? Anything that like...
I think what I was not expecting, you always like hope for the best whenever, like it's a pilot or something that's brand new starting off, right? And I think I didn't anticipate the feeling during every single set and even afterwards, like there was that magic once again where like it's everybody's like on this natural high and you leave feeling really, really inspired. Yeah. And then you learn so much more intimate details about everybody.
Like what?
Walter. I'm just kidding. no, really, like we when we had spoken to, for example, like John Briones, that was like such an emotional episode, and
it was so inspiring. I was keeping time, but I was like losing my time.
We were all like,
listen, seriously,
we were all just captivated in everything that he was talking about, and I think that's something that every single episode that we've ever shot, we have felt that with every single guest, and I think that's what makes it very memorable for me because I've worked on, different shows like a long, long time ago, and it's not always the feeling. Right. Sometimes it can feel very stark and bland, and it's like, okay, nobody wants to talk, like everybody just wants to go, and it's awkward. Yeah. But I feel like we always have such a great time. Like I feel like like this is my brother from another mother. Like we can pretty much like talk all day about like anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we kind of like we have the same thought process when it comes to like what should we ask the guests, but we kind of approach it in different ways, and so we're able to draw out all this information, especially about them, and even like finding out like AJ knows everybody. AJ Kalmai, he knows everybody.
AJ, we're shouting
but
everybody
then,
out.
You don't realize like really he knows every single person out there, and him telling us like stories about. Randall Park and
back in the day,
Randy. I was like, oh,
you mean Randy?
Yeah. So it's nice to be able to get those historians that born and bred in LA. And
old people,
the wise ones,
historians.
Because this is, it's such a small community. Yeah, like LA can seem very overwhelming, and this mega city of creatives. But when it comes down to it, literally, like everybody knows everybody. Like Walter, knows somebody from like 10 years ago, and now that they're like doing something major, and you just never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah, just run into them randomly.
World.
Well, especially the Asian Americans in the entertainment industry in America are just like it's a small community because there's just not that many of us in a sense, and so we all do eventually know each other, or like I think like 3 degrees.
We just end up working together,
or 3 degrees of separation in a sense. I guess for me, for memorable, Jonathan's just a really funny one. And Filipino AF when they came by, but they're also special, and just the memories and just the what I love is hearing the stories, especially from guys like Tim Cruise and and all of them whose parents were very supportive of their creative endeavors. It really shows how awesome it is when your parents are supportive of what you really want, your passion, instead of like forcing you to be a nurse, a doctor, or engineer. And to be fair,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, I think as a community, or like as parents, or Asian Americans, they want the best for their kids. They just want their kids to be supported, or to be able to support themselves. But I think it's awesome to see that there's these parents who are like, hopefully you can support yourself, but here I'll help you out, or I want you to be so good, or be like good at this skill where I'll support you so you can support yourself in the future. But like just hearing those stories, and some of the grimy stories from Tim, like when he was doing music videos for G Unit, and like those are awesome stories. But even like hearing from like the LGBTQ community and some of those interviews we did from Rachel,
like
yeah, and just hearing those stories, being straight Asian American male, those are things I don't really hear about. So it's refreshing, and it's kind of great to see that perspective. And the episodes we did talking about mental health also, those were great.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk, as an Asian American community, we don't talk about mental health enough.
We're starting to more so now. Loud noises.
Yeah, and that's
so it's good. Yeah,
that's the sound of mental health when you don't address it.
Exactly. Grinding in my brain.
Right.
Hope it doesn't. Good? Okay.
See, we addressed it. It got quiet.
Exactly. I just started thinking about it.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Who's your favorite host?
So I know that you and Rodney have known each other for a long time. Yeah. And, you've been around, kind of in and out with the industry.
Yeah.
Like, what changes have you seen over the past decade throughout the industry? And how was it for you, kind of stepping away and then coming back?
So when I first started, I went to school for radio and television broadcasting at PCC. Shout out to the Lancers. This was in the 90s. So back then it was just the thought of going into the entertainment industry was like, it was just like a crazy, like I was in high school, I was going to go into, I was going to study physical therapy, and my parents were happy about that. And then at the last second, I switched to broadcasting. And then because I found out early on that like, I was like, wow, I could actually make people like laugh by falling down or something like that, or like saying something stupid. I'm just like, that's cool. Like, from then on, I just wanted to like make people smile and make people like laugh and entertain people and make people happy. So I was just like, it didn't matter like how I did it. So I switched, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this entertainment thing. And I wanted to get into radio, like I mentioned about Manny and Theo and some those guys on the radio, because like someone told me I have a face for radio.
Rodney. I think that was Rodney.
But so I was like, okay, I guess I'm going into radio then. I wanted to be an actor. No, but then I also studied acting at the same time, so I was kind of like doing.
Hey man, if Steve Buscemi can be on camera.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, stop. We're gonna edit that part out as well. Hey Steve, what's up, man? How you doing?
I love your work.
Oh yeah, but like so back then it was just like a crazy thought for someone like me to like even get into the entertainment industry, and I still kept like the rejection letters that I got from every radio station that I applied to.
Oh, like my ex-girlfriends. Yeah. I mean, what?
What?
You kept all the letters?
Yeah,
the rejection letters.
You applied for that?
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
Sorry, dude.
Let's talk about that. Oh yeah. So God, what am I talking about? Oh yeah. So
yourself.
Yeah. I can't talk about myself.
No, it's just a change in the 10 years.
Okay, yeah. So it was just difficult. It was hard. Like I was trying, and I felt like, damn, man, I started to hate the industry. I was like, man, F this, like, and then I would just go in and out. Once that bug bites, you're infected for life pretty much. Mm-hmm. So I would do all these odd jobs here and there.
So then what brought you back?
So I started an apparel company. Because I just wanted to create, I just wanted to do things. So I just started like an apparel company. And an old friend of mine from back in high school, she didn't even go to my high school. Her name's Sharon. She was my co-host on a show that Rodney show ran and directed called the Super Random Report. And so how that started was she hit me up to print shirts for a project that she was working on called Geek Speak TV. Shout out to Geek Speak TV. So it was like a blog / like YouTube thing that they were starting, and so I printed the shirts for her, and then I think she knew that I was also dabbling in and out of the entertainment industry, and so she was like, "Hey, would you want to like co-host with me and like shoot videos?"
She's
and
like,
stuff?
"You got a face
for radio." Damn it. Why is this mean? Oh, damn it. Okay, sorry. We started doing that, and I was just like, "Yep, there it is again. That bug. That it's just like it's still there." And then from there, we were shooting like stuff at like San Diego Comic-Con and WonderCon, and like so it was like super geeky.
Was this a few years ago?
No,
Like,
this
when
was
was
this
this?
was like 2000. Shoot, like wow, 15 minutes. Sorry, I'm so professional. No, I didn't know we were talking that long. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, and then
So what year was that?
like 2011, I think.
Okay,
I think
that's
or
a while
2010,
ago.
2011. And then we ended up like emceeing for FPAC, which is the Festival of Filipino Arts and Culture, 1 year, and then a digital TV network noticed us, and I guess they thought we were good at emceeing, you know, like on stage and stuff, and so they asked us to come in and Rodney was helping to develop a geeky like show, sort of like Attack of the Show. Oh, is it
AOC? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, a Filipino version with Filipino hosts. So that's when I got to know Rodney, and like we worked really well together. That was in 2012, I think. Yeah, and then since then he's been hitting me up to do help out here and there. Oh yeah, but the differences in the industry now. I mean, there's a lot more Asian people, so that's good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say because I can't. When was your first episode with us? Which episode?
Oh man, I don't
remember how long ago.
I was
that
sort of off and on, like the crew sort of rotates.
Right. What was the first one?
The first one.
Do you remember, Rodney? Do you remember the first episode
that I helped out on? Man.
I think it's when we had like Cherry and
Achara. I think Achara was
Achara. Yeah. Okay. So that was like sometime. That was probably like a year ago, right? Because that was before I had moved.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I have personally seen a blossom with you, Arnold, because I remember because it was you and Mark.
Yeah.
Mark was also there. And then was there a third person? Or was it just you two? I think it was just you two. Yeah. But I just remember, because you were like way more quieter, like you were just kind of like, what do we need to do? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so it was nice to kind of see you transition because I felt like you became much more comfortable, as time and days went on.
Right.
Yeah.
When I first helped you guys out, it was like I was like super green. Like it's almost like everything I learned in school, like it was just gone for some reason.
You don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly. Like the entertaining aspect. I mean, like the performing aspect was always there. So but I always like usually start out quiet because I just want to like feel the vibe and like check things out and just learn and absorb. And then but I know, I guess that's just what happens. You just eventually you learn and. Dude, being on this set is dope. It's like we're hanging out with friends and family, and we're just like having a conversation, like just watching you guys, talking to the guests. It's just like we're just hanging out and just shooting the shit. I wish there was like drinks involved, but I'm just kidding.
Next time, Rodney. As he's like, no,
not gonna happen. But yeah, so what do you expect with season 2? Like, do you have any like dream guests, perhaps, for season 2?
I mean, yeah, I expect season 2 to continue with the tradition of just great conversation and just hopefully just a mixture of bigger name creatives and even like good up and coming ones, because I think it's important to have a mixture of both, not just we're all going to have these A-list or B celebrities come through. I think it's important that we find other up and coming creatives who are creating content, and hopefully, me personally, like I look forward to like, of course, I'd love to have like Mark Dacascos or Dave Bautista on here just because I'm a fan of their work.
At the same time, and have them fight.
I would feel so small.
I know, right?
You guys are huge.
Okay. We'll put phone books on there.
Sit next to Dave Bautista, that'd be like the same. I think.
Obviously. Walter's like interviewing on his shoulders.
So, I'll just sit on his arm.
Yeah. He's like,
He's just saying, so Dave.
So stupid.
I'll just be baby Groot.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, like, I'd love to have more musical guests, come through, and even like Miss Philippines, like models.
Oh God.
Just diversify.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about for the show, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Push it up sometimes.
I would love to see like people in fashion. I'd like to see. I mean, as much as I love film and television, I'd like to see kind of other aspects of that, even like costume designers or, art directors or stunt folks.
Right.
There's like a ton of Filipinos out there, Filipino Americans that are doing stunts, just all around. Like even more writers.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
Sure.
And just getting their take on everything. And you guys, we're gonna have Film Creative Voices Hawaii edition.
That's for sure.
It is.
Wow.
I just have to finish renovating my house.
Okay.
So by October we should be good. Yes.
So,
anytime after October.
Yeah. So we're shooting. I'll just be in my swim shorts.
In your Speedos?
Speedos. Yes. No table either.
Oh, Lord. Clear table. We'll use my clear desk.
So why do you think a show like Voices is important?
Well, I think just like what Walter was saying, we hope in the future for season 2 that we get a more diverse type of guests to come in, from like super experienced celebrity to the up and coming. And I think, we've reached our original objective, and we're going to stick with that, where we are creating a platform to help bring to light and highlight Filipino American creatives out there in the industry from all over, not just Los Angeles, and let the world know who they are and what they stand for and the things that they're putting out there. And I think if we can continue doing that, I mean, we're doing the dream, We all grew up in a generation where there were like, 3 people, of Filipino descent on television, and, very, very few even knew that they were even Filipino in the industry, because they were always playing different characters. And I think it's just immensely important what we're doing, and because if we're not going to be able to tell our stories and talk about what our own community is doing, we can't expect anybody else to do it. Yeah. And so I think that's why it's so important.
Walter?
Yeah, for me, it's like, why is anything really important?
Here we go.
I think Film Creative Voices is important in a sense, aside from what Arlene's already said. I think it's important in a sense that we get people on the show. And I think the video aspect is important because we put the faces. It's not just radio where you just hear the voice. We're actually showing you the faces of these creatives, these artists. And I think it's important to have people look at them and see them and get to know them and get to see the different shades of Filipinos and the different looks of Filipinos. I was talking about this the other day, and where I had an executive from one of the studios during one of the, I think it was a panel, and I got to talk to one of the executives after a panel, and we were telling him about Film Creative Voices, and this particular executive was Asian American. I'm not going to be specific, just so I, because there's not that many of them. And she legitimately asked me, like, why do you have to have your own Filipino Filipino show organization? Right. Why can't you just join these other big organizations? Right. And I told her straight up, like, well, because Filipino Americans are kind of, we get lost in the sauce in a way, because we look so, our look and our appearance are so diverse, but our experience is very unique, that we have unique challenges when it comes to the entertainment industry. We're invisible, and we become Chinese, we can become Japanese, Vietnamese, whatever. But it's not like they make a lot of Filipino American War movies where you can be casted as that. So yeah, we have these unique challenges, and I think it's great to show that there are Filipino Americans that's been in the American society and community doing changes, whether it's the Filipino Americans that was working in the United Farm Workers Union that got lost and became Cesar Chavez, and Bolo-san and all those guys that started from the back in the days. And the Filipino Americans have been in American community and society. Right. But they just get mistaken for Hispanic, Chinese, or whatever else. Yeah. So I think with this show is great because we get to show them their faces and hear their stories.
I think that's super important, like to be able to show our faces, because I feel like when America gets used to seeing our faces, that's when like. Let's go back to that Steve Buscemi comment. Okay. It's just kind of like you see him all the time, right? And like you don't think about his image, but because you see him all the time, you're just so used to like, that's how he gets jobs. That's how these actors like continue to find work, is because everybody's just so used to seeing their faces. So yeah, super important to like let people know that these people exist, and we can be right up there with the Steve Buscemis.
Yeah.
And everyone else. So.
And I mean, a part of it also, I think, is I like listening to NPR, and This American Life and all that stuff. And they interview us, but I think that this is important, too, in a sense that we do document for posterity, like these creatives and, even ourselves, our stories, even this, talking about it. Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people growing up now that, they don't have cable, it's all streaming platforms, and we're much more accessible. And for college kids or even younger to be able to see this content now, it'll give them hope that, hey, if these folks are doing it, then why can't we?
Exactly.
And I think that's the kind of empowerment that we need to spark that light in the future. Everything we're doing is for a legacy, you guys. I mean, really, it's that powerful, because if it wasn't for the people, ahead of us, like in the 90s or the 80s, early 2000s, who kind of paved that way, I don't think we would all be that comfortable, pursuing what we're pursuing.
Very true.
And so I think it's a big deal. It's important.
It's definitely multiplying. It's we're getting there. I feel like we're headed in the right direction. So with that, are there any final words, thank yous, or anything that you'd like to tell the audience?
Shout out to Rodney.
Shout out to the whole crew.
I mean, thank you to Philam Creative and all the crew that's worked with us in the first season and that's going to work with us in the future seasons and future crews and future shows, and all the guests that's provided their wonderful stories. Shout out to them. Working with our schedule, or just making things happen. Some of them had to, whether it's coming early in the morning or coming late at night.
Huge thanks to all of our sponsors as well. In the community, helping us out. And I think we do. I think individually we get hit up sometimes with people who are interested with helping out with the show, or how to become a guest on the show. And so I think the fastest and easiest way is through our Instagram account, which is Philam Creative Voices. And you guys can always message us there.
Yeah. And I think thank you for that. That's a great idea. Like, if you guys are ever interested in coming on the show, or know of, even direct us to a good talent that you think is up and coming, like, let us know. Cause we're not omnipresent. You don't know everything. Right. So send them up to us, or hit us up if you want to come help. And, whether you're a college film student from, what was your school?
PCC. Pasadena City College.
Or, USC, UCLA film, whatever.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
come by.
It's huge, because you guys can learn and see how we do things, and we'd love to have you.
And it's just fun.
It's a fun environment to be in, especially when you're learning.
Especially when you get good craft service. Like today, we're gonna have food from Tatang's.
Thank you, JR, Chiho,
JR,
thanks so much.
My
Check
favorite
it
was
out.
Hi-Fi Kitchen, though. Man,
What's up, Justin?
boy,
Hi-Fi,
they're
yeah.
delicious.
Like now we gotta mention all
Historic
like.
Filipino town.
That's right.
Let's just make sure that Rodney shows in the end credits like all the guys that all the businesses that supported us also with craft services. Like thank you so much for like the food and the support's been delicious. And thank you to everyone, and again, with Phil Creative.
And
Many
thank you,
thanks.
Arnold.
Oh, thank
My
you.
Goodness.
Thank you. No, I was just gonna thank you guys for like making this happen. Like the whole, just Rodney and you guys and Meriden and the rest of the crew that rotates in and out. You know, so once again, you guys are awesome. I love you guys. Thank you for watching this very special episode of Phil Creative Voices with your hosts.
Walter Talens.
And Arlene Dela Pena.
I'm Arnold Basingat. Don't forget to watch season 2 of Phil Creative Voices coming soon. Peace.
Mahalo.
Bye.